you're on your first frame. Because it's going to try to cook all, so it's basically trying to cook all the way up to frame 36, which is not good. Oh, yeah. The smoke object, I think, is looking at the source is looking at. Let's look at the fluid source. Let me get rid of my pighead over here, just so that nothing is weird. And let's get this done. Or put that again.
Because we press the wireframe. You show the wireframe.
Oh, yeah,
only,
thank
right?
you. I'm stupid, that's why. I was in wireframe, so if you're in wireframe, if you press W and you go back, thank you. Yeah, if you go back and forth between wireframe, it'll only, sorry.
Okay.
So if you do W, it turns on straight up wireframe. So W is straight up wireframe, Shift W is shaded with wireframe, I believe. Yeah. So this now is just flat shaded. Shift W is flat shaded with wireframe. So now if we go back into hopefully our DOM objects. There we go. So now we're getting that's because I've reconnected my turbulence and dissipation. Yeah. So now we get like this, which is cool. Like that looks way better. Like it looks like nice. Like it's like a little, just like smoke puff, like a fairy exploding. I actually like that. It looks pretty dope. So basically what was happening before is I've bypassed my turbulence and my dissipate. Now my dissipate is set to really high. My evaporation rate is like crazy, crazy high. So let's do this. I'm just going to set these just back to factory standard. So reset to factory defaults, and that'll just kind of bring everything back to really the only thing I did on that guy is set my swirl size. So now I'm getting no diffusion and no evaporation. So I do want a little bit of evaporation and a little bit of diffusion. So it starts small, it's really big, and we're still getting these mushrooms, which we're going to try to work through today. But it looks pretty cool. I like that pop, pop, like that double hit. Maybe I want a little bit more density. Actually, let's kill this. Actually, no, I'm going to scale my velocity. So if I do scope parameters, that will pull me up basically the graph editor for this. So I'm going to grab this and just kind of move it up.
How to open it?
Yeah, how did you get
It's so you right click, like let's say you have keyframes, right click, and you say channels and keyframes, scope parameters. So in Houdini, a scope is just a way to view data, right? Like if you're scoping your parameters, you're viewing your keyframes. It's like your graph editor. You can scope your channel data, right? When you're in the motion effects view, the motion effects view is technically a scope. as well. It's very science. Like if you ever think of like an oscilloscope, like that little green thing that gives you the patterns, that's what they're talking about, right? Because a bunch of weird scientists wrote this, not artists. So now we're just starting with a little bit more volume at the beginning. Ramps up. So I can dig around with this till the cows come home. But we're getting like a really nice look. So if I come to here, I'll have to do another dot field import. Okay, so we have this smoke. So now the other thing I did is I just added a little bit of drag. Like I just plopped a drag force down in there. I really didn't do, like, this is default drag. If you want things to like slow down faster, you just do scale force and scale torque. Those are the two main kind of drivers, right? So if I turn this to like 10, like this thing is basically moving through, it's not going to spread out as much. Right, see how it's more contained? And eventually it'll just kind of crawl to a stop. Right, so it's because it's drag. What is drag, right? Drag is, if I have a force going this way, drag is pushing back this way, right? That's what it is. Every force generates, in nature, every force generates an opposite force, right? That's why when you stand on the ground, you don't crash through the floor, because you're exerting a force on the floor, and the floor is exerting a force back up on you, and those two things become equal, right? That's when things break, right? If I were to chuck a bowling ball at that door, the force that the bowling ball is exerting on the door is greater than the force that the door is exerting back on the bowling ball, so it wins, right? So this drag is so high, it's just everything is just kind of equaling out very quickly. Okay. Someone also pointed out to me that I say right at the end of my sentence. Now I can't stop hearing it. Okay, so now what we want to do, and here's the other weird thing about Houdini, as if it wasn't weird enough. So I have this gas turbulence, and I'm plugging that into a merge, and that's going into velocity update, right? But I have this gas dissipate, and the gas dissipate really isn't doing anything to my velocity. So I could also, instead of plugging it in there, I can plug it into my pre-solve, and it'll still work. This is what's cool and super frustrating about Houdini. Like, I can do these two very, very different things, and they both still work. And for the most part, it still looks almost exactly the same. So
I just want to know what it putting into the post solve.
what?
I mean the gas dissipate putting into the.
For your post solve, you can plug in basically you can plug in any of these microsolvers anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's pre-solve, it'll run all the microsolvers for your pre-solve,
Yeah.
right? So so at the beginning, right, it's going to do, so it's going to run the first frame. It's going to solve that first frame. And then on the second frame, it's going to take the data it has, dissipate and blur that data, and then push the volume through it, and then do whatever's plugged into here, and then look at the source again. So it's basically doing this. It's going clockwise, just over and over and over again per frame. So if you wanted to kind of do like a post effect-ish type thing, like I could probably put a dissipate in. I'm almost positive I could put a dissipate in my post solve as well. So it's now I'm like doubling down on my evaporation. So it'll evaporate way faster now. So I'm evaporating before I push the volume around, I'm pushing the volume around, and then I'm evaporating again, and then I'm sourcing more stuff. So my evaporation is really low. So I mean, it is kind of getting a little bit. Yeah, it's getting way lighter now because I'm basically doubling up on my evaporation. So yeah, because this is all purple, right? Purple, right? So purple, like they try to give you keys to come into. Like here you can say,
Yeah, I tried this one. I mean the noise wheel, but it's not working. I mean the drag. The drag.
yeah, the best thing, like, and you just kind of fall into these patterns. You find out what works, and that you put that in your little toolbox, and you just use it over and over again. So this is my toolbox. This is what I rarely ever use this. I've never really had a need to do stuff after my add section. I'm sure now that I've said this, hey, I'm sure now that I've said this, the universe will totally prove me wrong. I'll be like, oh, I need to do this effect, and now you need to do something afterwards, right? Because you can add more velocity after, right? Which is cool. Okay, all right. So, next thing, I want to be able to dynamically resize this box, because the way this is working is everything inside this box is solving all the time. Even if there's nothing out here, it's still solving and it's still wasting computing power.
Yeah.
So we will use I'm gonna chuck a merge in here. Alright, put a gas resize.
Field.
Gas resize here. Here. Gas resize. Another place to put two there. Yeah, that's what I want. Not gas resize. Gas resize fluid dynamic. That's the one I want. Okay, so many names that are like very close. Okay. So I want fluid type, smoke and pyro. There's all these other ones, but for this I'm going to use smoke and pyro. So max bounds is basically going to say clamp to. Like it's going to clamp to whatever my initialization is. Like so, this is my initialization. It's going to say, all right, I'm not going to get any bigger than this. Right? Yeah, it says I'm not going to get any bigger than this.
Resizable binding box.
Oh, resize the boundaries.
Yeah. So it's basically saying if this gets any bigger, right? No, I think it's the other way around. Sorry, I'm backwards. It's never going to get any smaller than that box size,
Okay.
right? So for this, it's fine, right? It's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So the cool thing is, like, look, if you remember, like, how slow it was at the beginning, look how fast. Let me rerun this again.
So it won't get smaller than the smoke.
Yeah.
And there won't be mushrooms, right? Reduced mushrooms?
No. They'll still be
All the
mushrooms.
same.
This is just changing the field that it's working in. You're still going to get mushrooms because we haven't done anything to fix that in our velocity. So that's what's gonna deal with the mushrooms is the velocity. This is just a optimization.
And also,
Oh, reverse.
So if I
type
take
it,
that's my max bound. So let's go back to my this is my smoke object. If I make this much smaller, let me ghost as well. Let me ghost my other objects. So I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. this again. Right, so yeah, it won't get any bigger than that maximum size, right? So we could do initializing dynamic, which would check on each frame how big that it needs to be.
No.
I usually, like 90% of the time I use static. So. Yeah, but like you can see how fast that's simming at the beginning, because it's only simming like that little kind of box, and then once it gets bigger, it'll get slower and slower and slower. But like that's really cool now, right? Like I've basically doubled my sim time, or cut my sim time in half just by like automatically resizing my box. Now, there's one other cool bit about this
How
guy.
about we check out to maximum?
Initializing step.
I mean, how about we disable this maximum?
Oh yeah, that'll like pretty much make it unchecked. So it'll keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I like to do this just to make sure that so see it's still expanding, because there are like minute levels of detail out here that we're never going to see.
Because the smoke is coming out,
Because
right?
well, not only the smoke, but the velocity is getting pushed out here as well.
But the
Right, it's not just what you can see; it's the
Oh.
data that's out here as well. So where is my velocity?
So it goes on forever?
So if I look at velocity, right, velocity is still moving, continuing to push out and out and out and out and out, right? So that's why that box is getting bigger. And this is the weird thing about volumes is like you have to not only consider what you can see but what you can't, right? It's not just about the density; it's about the velocity, it's about the heat, it's about the burn. It's basically about all of these, all of this data that's being built into here. So we don't have any, right? We don't have any sync.
So we should clamp it.
Right, so it's always good to clamp it to some size.
Optimize it.
What else? What else about this? So we have our padding. We can give it a little bit, because right now it's already got padding, so it'll say, okay, this is the edge of my data. I'm going to move out 0.3 world units in every space, just to give it like a little bit of, like literally padding. Tracking object, right? So I can make an object in Sopland to try to resize this guy. So I can say track object, and it'll give me a sop path, right? So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to put this just, do I need velocity for this? I don't think I do. I might.
So what's the padding? What is it? Padding.
So what padding does is, I'll draw it for you.
Yeah, the bounds and padding.
So if, let's say
Up.
this is the edge of my data,
Uh-huh.
my padding just does this. It just gives me a little bit of extra
Bleeding area.
bleed room,
Yeah.
just to make sure that everything is contained and we're not clipping anything. Okay, so what I'm going to do is after my transform here,
Keep.
can you see?
Don't do one, you don't really know. What's it doing? We'll find it. Line up.
看冇上堂都有
basically
做
that's what this looks
直
like.
個頭。
Oh no, that's my picture. That's my picture.
爆緊啦，
個個都
要快啲做
其實
25%啊嘛，
一份就有，之前嗰啲幾多 percent？
12。
咩20%？
我哋依份。
Okay. So let's say after my transform, I'm going to make a sop called bound. Bound, and so bound will make a box that just like wraps around my object. That, right, we can see our bound object is wrapping around our volume source. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say null here. And if I want to be not a complete hypocrite, I'm going to put a null here as well. It's not going to be, do as I say, not as I do. Here, for my smoke object, for my properties, here. So this, I'm going to plug that in there. So that's my outsource. And then for my bound here, like this is going to be my bound. So that'll make sure that that object never gets smaller than my bounding source. Which is pretty good. So I don't really have a lot of dissipation in here. But yeah, so there's that.
But you disable the maximum bound.
Yeah, I disabled the maximum bound. So let's say that this guy gets to about here, right? But I'm kind of wasting here and this. I'll come back to my initial, and I'll just make this a little bit bigger in my smoke object. So it's all a balancing act. Like it's literally a balancing act. It's